What's up, Meta Nerds? This video is all about CC-1004, also known as Gree. CC-1004 was trained to serve the Grand Army of the Republic in the rank of a clone trooper commander. Throughout every clone trooper's training, they would learn about different alien species and cultures, and 1004 became such an avid student of different alien societies that even the Kaminoan cloners noticed that he stood out from his peers and was developing a strong sense of individuality. Because of this, he was sent to train with the Advanced Recon Commando Alpha 17, who believed that clone commanders could be more efficient on the battlefield by having strong leadership skills that would be in part aided from a strong sense of independence. The first step in this process was to allow these clones to pick their own name, naming himself after the extremely obscure 6 tentacled species from the Outer Rim. Part of this was because he found their culture so fascinating, but also because the species was so rare that if anybody recognized the name, they must have shared an interest in this species. After completing his training, Gree was made the commander of the 41st Elite Corps. Led by General Luminara Unduli, they would try and win over the hearts and minds of various alien species throughout the galaxy, the kind of assignment CC-1004 would have dreamed about back on Kamino. Gree absorbed everything he could when he traveled to these alien worlds, and became known as a sort of peace negotiator, recruiting aliens into the Republic forces, and helped to put out the different insurgencies that would pop up during the turbulent time that was the Clone Wars. Because he was often stationed amongst civilian populations, he developed several tactics with the AT-RT and the BARC speeder bikes, knowing that these were vehicles that could get you around town quickly, without making you look like you were a part of some big, oppressive military force. That being said, when tension amongst an alien population was starting to look like it could turn violent, Gree also knew how to deploy the A6 Juggernaut when a show of force was needed to keep the peace. Of course, there were times when Gree and his troops had to engage with CIS forces, and on the mid-rim planet Tabrin, Gree lost several of his clone comrades, and to honor their memory, he shaved his hair down to these 2 strips, and dyed his hair red. Later, on Umba 4, a planet that was home to a droid manufacturing plant, Gree was almost killed by a chemical warfare attack, in which Octoptara droids had this big, bulbous head up top, filled with a deadly virus, which would explode during combat, and cover the entire battlefield with deadly gas. His life was saved by the breathing filters in his mask, but was nearly killed during the very next campaign against the world of Dinlo, where Gree, the 2 battalions he commanded, Sarlacc A and B, and the Jedi General Voss-Ga, were nearly wiped out by separatist droid forces. They were trapped alongside of a river, but through some well-placed airstrikes, they were able to escape via the Acclamator-class assault ship the Fearless, and make it back to Coruscant. Later in that same year, Gree would be a part of the team that put Viceroy Nute Gunray into custody, upon which he was transported to Luminara Unduli's flagship, the Venator-class Star Destroyer named the Tranquility. Here, Gree could have made himself a very rich man, as Gunray repeatedly tried to bribe him, but Gree was unmoved, and had the Trade Federation leader placed behind bars. But Gunray had one more trick up his sleeve, and when Asajj Ventress arrived, she killed several of Gree's troopers, which were a part of Green Company. To make things even worse, Argaius, a captain in the Senate Commandos, killed 2 of his fellow commandos, and then tried to kill Gree, being allured by the promise of unlimited wealth offered by Nute Gunray. Gree and the traitor exchanged some blows, but at the end, the commander was able to disarm the Senate Commando, and then knocked Argaius unconscious. Gunray, however, was also quick on his feet, and took out Gree, and was able to escape from the Tranquility. Sometime later, Gree used his slicing ability to extract information from a CIS computer system, which showed both the alliance of the Night Sisters of Dathomir with Count Dooku, and discovered the existence of the Devastator, which was to be the sister ship to the Malevolence that was destroyed some years before. Shortly after this, Gree got in a skirmish with the Night Sisters, while again trying to protect Senator Amidala, and in one of his stranger missions, he, Luminara Unduli, Aayla Secura, and Bly all went to the planet Alzoc 3, where reports had been made of criminal activity. Arriving in ATTEs, they saw the wreckage of a Munificent-class frigate, and a strange gravity anomaly in which ice and parts of this ship were just floating in the air, and were all guarded by some still active droids. Gree again sliced into these computers, and was able to determine that this strange gravity anomaly was the result of 2 experimental and classified weapons produced by the CIS. Gree was also present during the Second Battle of Geonosis, where he and Rex commanded several AV-7 anti-vehicle cannons to try and take the offensive to the droid foundry, but suffered heavy losses due to the super tank, and the mission was ultimately only a success because the bridge containing those tanks had been destroyed, and Ahsoka and Barriss Offee were able to destroy the reactor from inside of the facility. Towards the end of the Clone Wars, Gree and Green Company were assigned to Jedi Grandmaster Yoda, who were asked to protect a farming moon that was in orbit over Kashyyyk. The Separatists were using Scythe Harvester tanks to burn away all of the crops in the farmlands, while also easily shooting down LAATI gunships. Pollen kicked up from all of these different crops was also messing with the clone troopers' helmets, and so they had to cast these to the side and engage the Separatist forces, while Yoda took control of a local Repto-Avian, a sort of flying lizard, which he used to drop himself down on top of one of the Scythe Harvesters, hijacking it and using it against the other CIS tanks. When the fighting was actually brought to Kashyyyk, Green Squadron donned even greener armor, helping them blend into the forest background of the Wookiee homeworld. Gree and Yoda set up a command post in the tree city of Kachiro, coordinating the Republic's attacks with the forces led by Tarful and Chewbacca. When the Separatists activated their main power generator, the Republic forces got into position and awaited the droid assault on the beach. From their position in the treetop command, Gree had an excellent view of the battlefield, but this is where he would spend the last moments of his life, as Yoda sensed the change in Gree that occurred when Senator Palpatine contacted him and commanded him to execute Order 66, causing Yoda to backflip and decapitate Gree and a fellow trooper in what was hopefully a quick and painless death. And so that's it for the story of CC-1004, also known as Gree. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to check out our social media, or ways that you can help support this channel, be sure to check out the description down below. If you want to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell icon so that you get notifications. But more important than all that, remember, for a guy that loves studying obscure alien species, perhaps it's fitting that he was killed by one so mysterious, it's simply called Yoda's species. And the Force will be with you, always.